who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. Ricoh, great to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
And we appreciate your service, of course. American Israeli hostage Eden Alexander, the last known living American held in Gaza, was released by Hamas today. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that negotiations will continue under fire. Does this release reflect mounting pressure on Hamas or increasing U.S. leverage behind the scenes?
Yeah, with regards to this specific hostage being released, if you really think about it, 584 days he's been in captivity of Hamas, and now Hamas is now breaking and crumbling at its own feet by the pressure of the United States and Israel as well, by them cutting off food, any sort of international support, and also water. So at this given point, they have nowhere to go, and all they can do is really just fall apart in front of its own people because they're not a government and they're a terrorist organization, and they're not putting the benefit of the region of themselves. So at this point, this might even be a catalyst to further establish itself and have a good point of negotiation here. I think right now Israel and also the United States has a bargaining chip in the leverage right about now.
All right, and staying in the Middle East, this week's round of nuclear talks between Iran and the U.S. ended with Tehran calling them difficult but useful, and both sides agreeing to continue negotiations. How can the U.S. avoid Iran dragging out the talks in order to delay a military action from Israel?
So there's a few different things here. Iran is very, very good at negotiation. And one of the things they have to really delineate is, do they want nuclear power or do they want nuclear rights, right? So one of those two things comes with nuclear weapons. And generally speaking, nuclear power comes with nuclear weapons. One of the bargaining chips that the United States and Israel said is, you shall not create any more depleted uranium or any sort of uranium, because that is the catalyst for other type of bioweapons. Unfortunately, Iran says no, so I believe that Iran is going to be losing the deal here. A lot more tough negotiation up ahead, and more than likely we'll see attacks from Israel because Iran refuses not to engage into weapon development.
And on that point, Ricoh, President Trump says Iran can't be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon while Iran wants to preserve its ability to enrich uranium. What should the U.S. Focus on in these talks?
Given Iran the ability to have nuclear rights for self-sustainment, self-power, for the electricity and also the power grids within Iran, they should be able to do that. And any civilization should be able to stand on its own 2 feet in the nuclear capability. At the same aspect, developing nuclear weapons and also uranium and whatnot, Iran has made it very clear that their number one enemy is the United States, and the number one weapon to use against the United States is uranium or even nuclear power. And so their agenda is very clear. So I think the United States and Israel have the pressure on Iran to make the right decisions.
Now, President Trump also today raised the possibility of joining peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, set to take place in Turkey on Thursday. Ricoh, Trump seems optimistic. What kind of leverage do you think he has in this situation?
So he has leverage on both sides. On the Russian side, he can leverage a lot of sanctions and also regional sanctions, restricting ports, and also pretty much what he did in Gaza. Having the suffocation of its own country in its hand, he can possibly do that. And on the other side, he has a bargaining chip. Says we will not supply you with any more weapons of the United States or any more troops or support. And Zelensky knows that. So both these leaders really have to buckle down and figure out, what does winning look like, not only from a country perspective, but from a regional perspective? What about the people? What about the economy? And also the social and global impacts of it?